Okay, so uh, first of all, I would like to welcome to on the depth of my heart and on the core of my heart to uh, 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 Dr. Sudheer Kumar Verma sir. Sir has accepted our invitation very easily, and when I have called to sir, then sir has given permission. Surely I will be delivered my lecture, and sir has also selected the very contemporary and very relevant topic, not only for the research scholars and academic persons, but all that persons who are interested in the research and in the research field. So, and the second, I would like to congratulate and I would like to welcome to the all executive committee members of the India Research Scholars Association that all have taken the very good initiative as and has continue this lecture series. I would like to welcome the all participants who has taken your valuable time and to join this lecture series, how to formulate the hypothesis. I would like to welcome the all executive committee members, like I can see on the screen, Aswini Kumar ji, who is a research scholar from my university, and Ganeshi Lal ji, who is a research scholar of the Jawaharlal Nehru University, Sangita ji, and Neha Naina ji, Sneha Yadav ji, Rekha Yadav, Professor Rekha Yadav madam. Professor Rekha Yadav madam is a professor in the Lucknow University. So there are the many participants like Professor Manish Kumar sir. So there are the many participants. So I would like to welcome on the behalf of the India Research Scholars Association and on the behalf of me. So I think today we have with us very eminent scholar who has the very depth knowledge on the research and on the field of the political science. So I will be not take the much and more time. I can see on the screen Rupesh ji. So I will not take the much and more time. So I would like to invite Neha Prasad ji, who is a research scholar of the Kalyani University, West Bengal, to give the brief introduction of the Dr. Sudheer Kumar Verma sir, because sir has a very very broad CV, and so I invite to Neha Prasad ji to give the brief introduction of the Dr. Sudhir sir. Thank you. Neha Prasad ji, can you listen us?
धन्यवाद सर।
Yes, yes, yes.
यस सर।
Okay, okay.
धन्यवाद सर। प्रणाम सर और सभी सहपाठियों को मेरा नमस्कार। मेरा नाम नेहा प्रसाद है। मैं कल्याणी विश्वविद्यालय की शोधार्थी हूँ। आज के इस कार्यक्रम में व्याख्यान प्रस्तुत करने के लिए मैं सुधीर सर को आमंत्रित करती हूँ, जो वर्तमान में पंजाब विश्वविद्यालय भटिंडा के दक्षिण और मध्य एशियाई अध्ययन विभाग के असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर हैं। इन्होंने सन 2007 में एमए जवाहरलाल नेहरू से किए थे, 2010 में एमफिल जवाहरलाल नेहरू से किए थे और 2014 में उन्होंने पीएचडी जवाहरलाल नेहरू यूनिवर्सिटी से पूर्ण किया था। सर ने 2015 मोतीलाल नेहरू कॉलेज में अध्यापन का कार्य किया। 2015 में पंजाब विश्वविद्यालय में भी उन्होंने अध्यापन का कार्य किया। सर का कुछ विशेष विषय में रुचि रही है, जैसे जलवायु राजनीति, शासन अध्ययन और भारतीय विदेश नीति और अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संबंध पर विशेष रुचि रहा है। सर ने विभिन्न आलेखों का भी संपादन कार्य किया और सर की कुछ पुस्तकें भी प्रकाशित हुई है। इंडियन इन साउथ एशिया, चेंजिंग पर्सपेक्टिव इन इंडिया 24th सेंचुरी और इमर्जिंग ट्रेंड्स इन इंडियाज फॉरेन पॉलिसी नामक पुस्तक का भी प्रकाशन सर ने किया। सर को मैं आमंत्रित करती हूँ कि सर आए और अपने व्याख्यान से हम सभी को लाभान्वित करें। धन्यवाद सर।
Thank you, Neha. This is uh, what I can say. I'm not deserving such an introduction. I am still a learner. But learning always goes along in interaction with my research scholars as well as my PG students. when we take class and the students ask questions, I reply. If I'm not able to reply, then next day I reply to search the uh, uh, answers of those questions. First of all, I want to say thanks to Indian Research Scholar Association, who gave me an opportunity to interact with research scholars across the India, as well as to the professors who had joined from different universities. Thank you to President Uday Singh Rajput, Dr. Uday Singh Rajput. He is associated with Indira Gandhi National Tribal University, Amarkantak, and Vikash Kumar, coordinator, Sangita Yadav, convener, co-convener Neha Prasad, and Ganeshi secretary. Uh, this association is Research Scholars Association, and we are engaged in research activities. अनुसंधान हम कर रहे हैं हम लोग. So first of all, the question comes from where we start our research. Whether we follow the titles, whether we are going to frame a question, whether we are frame a hypothesis, and then question, confusion comes in minds, particularly the research scholar, and those are beginners. We can follow both questions and research hypothesis. What hypothesis is, and in which type of research we can use hypothesis, and which type of research we cannot use hypothesis.
Yes.
So even I gave the two topics to Vikash Kumar, that formulation of research problem and research hypothesis. Vikash said that it is going to be too long, so it's keeping with research hypothesis. Before I thought that in particular political science and international relations, and later on thought about this is Indian Research Scholars Association. So here not only political science but other disciplines also, sister disciplines of social sciences, research scholars also part of that. First of all, we should know about that where we can use research hypothesis, where we cannot use research hypothesis. There are three traditions exist in social science research. One is positivism. Positivism is basically which follows realist ontological positions. Realist ontological positions that basically which the world which exists outside, and that world we can observe by using human senses. Human senses, we have 5 human senses, and we are also taking help of the instruments by developing that. So whatever we can observe, that is a reality. What we cannot observe, that is not reality. So that positivist research that asserts for the verification. Whatever we are saying, we have to verify. We have to observe in real world. Then we have interpretative traditions that talks about that we have a nominal nominist this ontology. That means reality which exists, which is not, we cannot observe outside. That is constructed. That is also called the constructivist ontology, and that is a mental constructions. So that we cannot observe outside world, we can understand through the human actions. There we are going to use the assumptions. There we are not going to use that hypothesis. Because of there, we are going to follow the text data, qualitative data. Because of there, we are going to in-depth interviews, observation we do both places. Then third one is critical social science. They believes both one, positivist and the nominalist. So these then critical social science, they are believing that we can observe the reality, but we are also need to understand the human actions, which are that reality exists in layered form. So that's first part of that, where we can use hypothesis, where we should not use hypothesis. Before going to the understanding what hypothesis, we have to know about that what we are going to do. Just I want to share my this PowerPoint PPT which I have prepared. I think it is visible.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
It is visible or not?
Visible, sir. Visible, clear visible, sir. Clear.
Okay, thank you. So, first of all, we should know about, before going to understand hypothesis, there are concepts, and that concept has its own values that understand in terms of properties, that characteristics, and these are static. So concepts we cannot use in hypothesis formulation. Because of hypothesis formulation, we can use those things which varies, which changes, which values changes. So we have to convert concept into variables, and variable is a is a thing which have a value, and that value varies from one position to another position. Okay, so there are fundamentally two types of the variables. One is independent variable, that is called also the causative variables, that cause, and the dependent variable. Okay, then we have also mediating variables, controlled variables. That's also when we are doing experiments. But basically there are two types of variable: independent variable and dependent variable. And others also called this categorical variable, which is having categorical variable is one whose values represent theoretically discrete parts or amounts of the thing being studied. That means that value cannot be broken down further, just like male and female biological sex. Then continuous variable. That continuous variable represents theoretically unbroken whole, and whose parts cannot be distinguished one from the other, except by arbitrarily dividing the continuum into categories. That means that's just like, for example, femininity and masculinity. Their dimension and their values exist in continuous. We cannot distinguish. But if we want to make distinguish, then arbitrarily we have to break down. That's a 70%, 60% of femininity, 70% femininity. That is arbitrary, and that becomes the categorical. So first, this is the conceptual understanding. Then hypothesis. What hypothesis is? Hypothesis is a statement about relationship between variables. So when say this is a relationship, that means it is establishing some types of the connection, linkage with two variables, that is independent, dependent variable. So as I written in that slide, that form the two words, hypo and thesis. So hypo stands for the tentative subject to the validation, tentative subject, and thesis that stands for narration on the resolution of a problem. Let's understand. This means hypothesis is a tentative subject to the validation. That means if any problem we are facing in a society, we are thinking about that what solution is available for that problem. So when we thought about, okay, this A solution is the answer to this problem, that we have providing the explanation first, and that explanation should be validated through the empirically tested. So that means that is going to be how we are going to resolve that problem. And
वही रहते तो
with the statement, and that statement should be verified. That's next question, the hypotheses are empirically testable statements that derive from a theory. And this performs two basic functions. Why we need a hypothesis? That perform two basic functions that help to provide systematic import and facilitate the testing of scientific theories. One is that help to provide systematic import, that we are living in society and understanding the society with the full of the concepts, and we understanding the reality by using that concepts. So here concept, and through that we are systematically importing that knowledge or the understanding about the social problems. Next is facilitate the testing of scientific theories. See, remember that Francis Bacon talks about this knowledge grows through the verification. Verification, that means one by one. If suppose that we are saying that a human is mortal, so we are going to search that any that's a human's mortal or not, one by one. Okay, then Karl Popper talks about the falsification. Falsification that we are not going to verify. We are going to search that that's any human who is immortal. If we are finding one case that is going to falsify the theory. So here hypothesis is used for testing a theory. That means we are validating theory through the hypothesis formulation. So when we are writing a hypothesis, we should know there are the two types of hypothesis fundamentally. The null hypothesis, that is also called the default hypothesis, and research hypothesis, that is also known as alternative hypothesis. See, this null hypothesis is a starting point. Sometimes we think about when writing a research, we haven't written this null hypothesis. No, null hypothesis, there is no need to write separately. Null hypothesis always exists when you start your study. You have to think about that the research hypothesis means alternative hypothesis. Alternative hypothesis means alternative solution, alternative way of resolving the problems. So just like I said, there's null hypothesis, a statement of equality. A statement of equality, that means there is two variables, independent variables and dependent variables.
sir.
And
Sudhir sir, I think slide is not moving, sir.
अभी मैं मूव नहीं कर रहा
Okay,
हूँ.
okay, sir. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, sorry, sir.
Okay. So see, this null hypothesis is basically talks about the statement of equality. A statement of equality, that means there is no changes exist. That means A factor is not having effect over B factor. So that means when we are starting our research, it default hypothesis, a null hypothesis always exists. That means there is no relationship. They are equal. Then next is research hypothesis. That says that statement of inequality. Inequality means it is always considered having effect. One is having effect over others. So that is called the two basic kinds of research hypothesis. One is non-directional research hypothesis.
Yes,
The relationship exists, but there is no direction. There is no direction. Just like we can say, for example, that 60% population voting, 60% population voting in an election in 2023 in particular state. But here, just talking about that 60% voters voted. There is no direction. That voters, they are a unit of analysis. They came out and they voted. Okay. Then next one is that's a directional research hypothesis. That state that that's null hypothesis always applied to population, and that cannot be tested directly. And for testing directly, that is a research hypothesis. Okay, so that directional research hypothesis that states two sample statistics such as averages are different from one another, but there is a direction. That means more or less, more than or less than, or to the difference. That means we can say uh, graduate students are more uh, more interested to participate in election process in election than uneducated person. So that means here relationship direction. Uneducated persons, they are less participating, and educated persons, they are more participating. Then when we are establishing that hypothesis, the variables, that is a relational, so that relations can take form if and then, or the more. When we say that if A presents, then will be take place. That's B problem will take place, and the we can say uh, for if A means we can say if democracy allows uh, people to participate, or different way में ले सकते हैं हम इसको. We can say that's if people participates more in civic affairs, then the democracy will be established. Okay, so the more and the more, that means the more, for example, the more the media emphasize an issue, the more important people think it is. I have taken this example from Shoemakers. That's how to build social science theory book. So here that is relationship, that is directional. If and then, or the more. Then writing this way, that communicate direction, and that direction may be in two forms: positive relationship or negative relationship. Positive relationship, A increases, then B increases, or if A increases, then A decreases, then B decreases. In negative one, that is the more A, the less B, or the less A, the more B. Okay? So on that basis, there we writing about this types of hypothesis. That means we are writing the hypothesis which follows both variables are continuous. As we said that the educated peoples, the more educated peoples reads more newspapers. Okay, so here both are the continuous variables. Here we have, if we want to break down, we can break down there. Then one variable is categorical and one is continuous. Another is both variables are categorical variables, where that means we are using categorical variables. That's a values we cannot break down further. Then another is when we are writing hypothesis, that also talks about the causal directions, and these causal directions that suppose A happens, then will be happens. That implies that A is the cause and B is the effect. That's why I said that's independent and dependent variable. Dependent variable is the cause, and independent variable is the dependent variable is the effect, and independent variable is the cause for that. Then next, causal direction, when we are establishing, that can be supported by four ways. That first one is the hypothesis must show statistical support for covariance. That is a relationship between the two variables. That statistical support, we can mean, median, or mode, we can use the coefficient. Okay, then second, that the presumed cause should occur in time before the presumed effect. This type of a causal direction, a causal relationship, we establish in when we are doing an experiment. That means we are controlling variable. So here we ensure that the cause will take place before the effect. But when we are doing the cross-sectional survey research, there is a problem to establish cause, the presumed cause should occur in time before the presumed effect. Third one should rule out possible alternative explanations for the observed relationship. See, that's when we observed relationship, that means A is related B. So we also think about that there is another way that relationship can be established. So we have to go through all types of the possible alternative relationship will exist. That means we have to rule out all types of the possible alternative explanations. Then last one must minimize error variance. Variance, that we should take into account that internal validity, external validity, reliability. That means when we are selecting samples and when we are taking the surveys, so we should think about that biasness should be avoided, and we should think about that significance and the coefficient, that questionnaires. So all these, whether these questionnaires are coefficient or not, so we have to go all these things. Then we can establish causal relationship. Next thing is that we discuss about this null and research hypothesis. So I thought about that we should distinguish what these null and research hypothesis are. So null hypothesis represent H and followed by 0. Then research hypothesis A and followed by A subscript. Then when say the null hypothesis, that asserts no relationship between the independent and dependent variables. There is no relationship at all exist. Then research hypothesis, that is also alternative hypothesis, that's there is relationship, always exist. Then one called default hypothesis is always exist, and alternative hypothesis we are searching that. It also refers to the population and it never tested directly. So in population we are not going to test directly, and it is tested directly because of samples based on the sample. Whether it is true or false, it implies from the result of a test of the research hypothesis. So when we are testing a alternative hypothesis and what results we are getting, on that basis we are going to declare that our null hypothesis is true or false. Then researcher cannot directly observe this null hypothesis. Then it is expressed by the Roman symbols, that's a sigma and alpha, that is population parameters. And next is whereas research hypothesis is expressed by using the Greek symbols, that's a sigma, that's S, and A by the alpha. So it is always refers to the population, and another is always refers to the sample. What is population? Population is a study area. Whatever we are going to study, that includes everything that is in population. So population is, we should not understand in terms of that only the living people. No, if we are studying a geographical region, that also include a population. Okay, sample is a representative of the population. That's a small part which is comes out of that population. Okay? That's a representation representing the population. So that research hypothesis tested, and this research hypothesis has a level of error or a significance level that associated with it. So when we are testing this research hypothesis, that should always has a level of error, and that's a significance level that we should also keep in mind when we are taking the null hypothesis. That is a starting point in research, and that also acts as a benchmark against which results are compared. See, when we tested alternative hypothesis, research hypothesis, or that also called the scientific hypothesis, then at conclusions, we are also going to compare those results with the starting or null hypothesis. Null hypothesis, there is no relationship exists, nothing happening between two variables. Another say it is happening there. So we are going to whether happening or not happening. So mostly we are going to nullify this null hypothesis. That means the null hypothesis is wrong or the false by searching this testing this research hypothesis. Yeah, now when we are formulating a research hypothesis, what we should keep in mind. Okay? So there are two principles we should keep in mind. First thing is principle of deducibility. Principle of deducibility talks about that when we are framing hypothesis, the concepts or the statements should be taken from established theory. Okay? That should be having the linkages with the theory or the literature. Okay, so we cannot say that Ramesh, for example, Ramesh is Ramesh is intelligent, intelligent. So that is not a hypothesis. Because of that, is not empirically means we can observe through human senses in the real world. If it is not, then we should not take that concept in when we are formulating a hypothesis. So that should be, keep in mind when we are framing hypothesis. There is testability that affects. There are some factors for that. One is concept clarity. Concept clarity, if concept is not clear, then that affects the stability of hypothesis. So what is concept clarity? That means what concept we are using as a variable there, that should be understood by other persons what we are understanding. So that should not be different understanding by another person. So that should be written in clearly, just like we say that's education. Now suppose that I am talking about this educated individual is more likely participate in civic sphere in society than uneducated person. For me, I am understanding educated means those having degree, or we can say the graduate. Okay, but others are understanding the educated means those understanding about how to write and how to read. If they are able to write and able to read, they are educated. So these are creating the vagueness. So what we can say, remove that, we say the educated means graduate people. Graduate individuals are 10th pass individuals. So that brings the clarity. Where say the 10th pass individuals are graduate individuals. So graduate individuals, what we are understanding, the same is understood by the other person. Concept measurements, how we are going to measure those concepts. This concept measurements is going to be clearly stated there. Which level of measurements we are going to. There are ordinal level, nominal level, ordinal level, or then interval, ratio, which we are going to use. That clearly is going to be stated. Last one is resource availability also affect testability of the hypothesis. Suppose that we have framed hypothesis which required a lot of time, and I am a PhD student. I'm writing my thesis that has timeline. That's 4 years. 3 years. After 3 years, you can submit your thesis, but 4 years you can learn. But that demands more time. So that will also affect the testability of hypothesis. Finance, availability of finance. Then the available of the tools, whether tools available or not. So these are the resources which also affect testability of hypothesis. Then where we are going to these concept when we are framing hypothesis. So there is the techniques for scientific discovery we should use to get a knowledge or insight. The first one, insight by reading text, by reading literature, by reading theoretical knowledge which exists. So with that reading habits, we get an insight, and we then think about that. This way we can go for the study in our research. Then another, record maintenance. Record maintenance means writing down the things. Something comes in your mind, you have to note down, keep diary, and create a mind mapping. Through that you get the clarity about the concept. You get the new insight, and that insight is clear conceptually. Then cross classification. See, when we are reading, maintaining record, then we should also classify social events, political events. By classifying political events, we get the new typology, new types of concept, which leads to the new study in research. For example, the scholar that's called the James David Barber, he used the cross classification techniques by using cross classification techniques. He studied as new legislator who newly elected and wants to return back in future. So how that performing the duties and how participating in the legislative affairs. Okay, so on that basis, he classified into 4 types of the legislators. James David Barber. The first is lawmakers. The newly elected legislator involves in lawmaking. So lawmakers, that means participating more and more whenever related to the policies on the act for passed. Then spectators, that's it, just keeping eyes over all the developments taking place. Then advertisers, that's not only participating but also advertising among the voters. Then last one, reluctance, want to be but not involving in the legislative affairs. So these 4 types of, by using the cross classification techniques. Then alternative hypothesis. Whenever we have any problems, we think about this relationship, this cause and effect relationship exists. We also think about there is how many alternative statements exist, or alternative ways to resolve those problems exist. Then deduction talks about that from the theory we deducing, taking down the understanding or insights or knowledge about the social world from the higher level of knowledge, and generalized knowledge. A scholar, Pollock, is a political scientist who has suggested there's a template when we are writing a hypothesis. If by using this template, we can write a hypothesis that. So he suggested that as in a comparison of within bracket units of analysis, then those having again one value of on the independent variable bracket close will be more likely to have one value on the dependent variable than will those having a difference value on the independent variable. So this is template suggested. Examples we can take education and voting turnout in election. So in a comparison of individuals. So here individuals are unit of analysis. Those who are graduate degree holders will be more likely to cast vote in an election than will those who are non-graduate degree holders. So here independent variable is degree holders, graduate degree holders. Okay, graduate. Then independent variable is casting vote in election. Then difference comes non-graduate difference value on the independent variable non-graduate degree holders. Okay, so this template, by using this template, we can write. This will help to writing. Now there are certain criteria where we should follow for writing a good research hypothesis. That means when we are writing hypothesis, that should be declarative form, not as a question. So declarative form, for example, that educated peoples are, we can say, are non-associated with social norms. People are more likely commit suicide than associated people. Okay, so question mark we can write. We can write about that peoples who are non-associated with social norms or social community. They are more commit to make suicide than socially associated people. That is a declarative form. We should write more. Then whatever we are writing, that's a relationship establishing, that should be clearly states. That means there is no should be misguiding or the vague. Okay. Then reflect the theory and literature. That means whatever you are writing hypothesis, that should have a theoretical connection or literary connection. Okay. Then should be brief and to the point. Don't write so many words or in a round. That write just a brief and to the point. And next one is testable. That should be testable hypothesis. That means testable means empirically validated, so that we can collect the evidences for testing that hypothesis, and should be written in conceptually clear. That conceptually clear means what I am understanding that concept, others should understand the same concept, same understanding about that concept. Okay, so this is that's a hypothesis when we are writing, and this basically goes for when we are formulating a research hypothesis. in our in research, we should also keep that other terminology also appear, like proposition, okay, assumption, another called law. No, so we should differentiate all these terminology which exist. That means assumptions are sometimes it is untestable hypothesis. So they are not testable. That assumption sometimes talks about one variable properties or one variable's values, not the two variables. They're lacking the association relationship there. And next, that propositions are two types of. One is declarative, that is talking about that comes when hypothesis is going to be tested. So that is confirmed, that proposition comes. Then another one, it's a giving there's one value, one value, one variable's details there. So that's propositions. And next one is called the law. Law is the highly generalized, which is always exist. Okay, so I want to stop here. I am not discussing about the testing of hypothesis because that requires another 1 hour for testing of hypothesis. So I want to stop here. If any questions, any clarifications, we will discuss in the question hours. Thank you. Thank you very much.
बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, आपने विषय को बहुत बारीकी से रेखांकित किया। परिकल्पना या हाइपोथेसिस किसी भी रिसर्च का एक ऐसा अंग होता है जिसको अगर बहुत बारीकी से और बहुत सुदृढ़ तरीके से तैयार किया जाए तो रिसर्च की दिशा तय हो जाती है और रिसर्च कैसा होगा ये लगभग तय हो जाता है। तो बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर, आपने बहुत अच्छे से व्याख्यायित किया। अब अगले वक्ता के रूप में बुलाने के लिए मैं नेहा जी से आग्रह करूंगा कि डॉक्टर उदय सिंह सर का परिचय देते हुए उनको आमंत्रित करें। नेहा
उदय सर आई थिंक प्रेजेंट हैं। उदय सर, आर यू हियर सर?
मैं अभी जुड़ा हूँ।
हाँ, यस
हाँ,
सर,
मैं जुड़ा हूँ।
सो सर, यस सर, सो आई रिक्वेस्ट टू यू सर, please given your presidential concluding marks sir. उदय सर जी सर।
ओके, थैंक यू विकास। वैसे मुझे मैं सभी से क्षमा चाहता हूँ कि मैं थोड़ा सा रास्ते में था और लेट जुड़ पाया। सुधीर सर उस पर मैं जो है बात कर रहे थे कि हाइपोथेसिस जो है वो दो वेरिएबल्स के बीच में रिलेशंस को बताता है और मैं वहीं से आपके बीच में जुड़ा था, ज्वाइन किया था। बहुत अच्छे तरीके से सुधीर सर ने इस पूरे लेक्चर में मीनिंग, हाइपोथेसिस के टाइप्स, इंपॉर्टेंस ऑफ द हाइपोथेसिस, इसके साथ साथ as well as the what thing we should keep in mind while formulating the hypothesis। बहुत सरल तरीके से आपने बताया। मैंने भी सर, हालांकि सॉरी मैं बहुत लेट जुड़ पाया और मैंने आपके पूरे लेक्चर को एंजॉय किया। बहुत सारी चीजों को मैंने सीखा इस लेक्चर से। मैं निश्चित रूप से जो हाइपोथेसिस है, हाइपोथेसिस इट इज दी जस्ट लाइक assumptions, इट इज टेंटेटिव जो है प्रोपोजिशन जिसकी वैलिडिटी वो अननोन है। ये हाइपोथेसिस नो इट इज ये दो वेरिएबल्स के बीच में संबंधों का एक पूर्वानुमान है। हाउ ए इज रिलेटेड टू बी एंड बी इज रिलेटेड टू सी, और हाउ दे बोथ आर नॉट रिलेटेड, ये दोनों कैसे एक दूसरे से संबंधित नहीं है। आपने बहुत अच्छे से जो अलग अलग वर्किंग हाइपोथेसिस है, नल हाइपोथेसिस है, इसके साथ साथ जो रिसर्च हाइपोथेसिस, अल्टरनेटिव हाइपोथेसिस, उन सब को लेकर बहुत बहुत अच्छे तरीके से बताया सर। थैंक यू सो मच। और मैं केवल इतना ही कहूंगा कि हाइपोथेसिस हमारा, जब भी हम रिसर्च शुरू करते हैं, स्पेशली जब हम रिसर्च की पहली स्टेप पर होते हैं, रिसर्च को स्टार्ट करते हैं स्कॉलर, एज ए रिसर्च स्कॉलर, हाइपोथेसिस एक बड़ा रोल प्ले करती है। हाइपोथेसिस हमारे लिए एक बाउंड्री को तय कर देती है। हाइपोथेसिस हमें डायरेक्शन देती है, हमें क्या करना है, हमको क्या कलेक्ट करना है, हमको किस दिशा में जाना है, हमको क्या कलेक्ट नहीं करना है। क्योंकि रिसर्च में ये, हम जब भी रिसर्च की बात करते हैं तो हम यही कहते हैं कि हमें वही चीजों को कलेक्ट करना है जो जरूरी है। गार्बेज इन गार्बेज आउट वाली थ्योरी हमेशा काम करती है। तो आपने सुधीर सर बहुत अच्छे से इस पहलू को रखा। मैंने भी बहुत सारी चीजों को इसमें सीखा, और इस पूरे फोरम को पर जैसे प्रोग्राम के कोऑर्डिनेटर जो थे विकास, हाँ, कन्वीनर संगीता यादव जी, को कन्वीनर नेहा प्रसाद, ऑर्गेनाइजिंग सेक्रेटरी गणेश लाल, उन सबको भी बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। आप सब लोगों ने मिलकर बहुत अच्छा फोरम ये तैयार किया है। एक्चुअली जब आज से कुछ वर्षों पहले तक रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी की अंडरस्टैंडिंग बहुत अच्छी नहीं होती थी और उसका प्रभाव रिसर्च की क्वालिटी पे पड़ता था। इसीलिए बाद में यूजीसी ने भी कोर्स वर्क का सब चालू किया और कोर्स वर्क होने लगा। लेकिन वो भी मैं ये नहीं कहता कि वो फ्रूटफुल नहीं है, उसमें हम सारी चीजों 6 महीने में सीखते हैं। लेकिन आप लोगों ने ये एक तरह से आत्मनिर्भर का कॉन्सेप्ट डेवलप किया है कि सारे स्कॉलर ने मिलकर एक एसोसिएशन बनाया और आप खुद आत्मनिर्भर होकर हर एक पहलू पर हर 8 दिन में एक लेक्चर को करवाते हैं किसी भी अच्छे टीचर को। जैसे आपने इस बार सुधीर कुमार सर को जोड़ा और उनसे रिसर्च के अलग अलग पहलुओं को समझते हैं, आपकी जिज्ञासाएं जो है उनको समाधान करने का आपको मौका मिलता है। ये रियली बहुत बहुत अच्छी बात है और इससे कई सारी चीजों को आप सीखेंगे। अलग अलग यूनिवर्सिटीज में जो जो ब्रेन है उसको आप यूटिलाइज कर रहे हैं, ये एक अच्छी बात है। तो थैंक यू सो मच, आप लोगों ने मुझे जोड़ा। और निश्चित रूप से मैं भी आप लोगों के बीच में किसी दिन एक विषय को लेकर, हाँ, मैं आप लोगों से जुड़ूंगा। जी जी, थैंक यू सर।
थैंक यू सर। बेसिकली मेरा मन ये था कि हम रिसर्च हाइपोथेसिस को डिस्कस करने से पहले हम रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम को डिस्कस करें।
यस सर।
क्योंकि क्या है ना कि हमने जो देखा है रिसर्च स्कॉलर्स के बीच में,
यस
वो टॉपिक यूज कर लेते हैं और उसके बाद वो फिर क्या करते हैं, जैसे ऑर्नामेंट है ना, हमने कपड़ा पहन लिया, फिर हम कोशिश करते हैं कि अच्छा ये अच्छा लगेगा इस कपड़े के साथ कि नहीं अच्छा लगेगा।
यस
तो हम रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी को एज ए ऑर्नामेंट की तरह यूज करते हैं, पर्टिकुलरली इन सोशल साइंस इन इंडिया। सो हमारी रिसर्च मेथोडोलॉजी डिसाइड होती है हमारे नेचर ऑफ रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम से।
बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सर।
और इसीलिए मैंने जब स्टार्ट किया था, जैसे आपने सर बोला कि आप वहाँ से जैसे रिलेशनशिप से बात कर रहे थे, तो उससे पहले मैंने जो मेथोडोलॉजीज एग्जिस्ट करती हैं सोशल साइंसेस में, 3 मेथोडोलॉजी हैं, जो पोजीशंस हैं, उनके बेसिस पे क्या करते हैं हम लोग, टॉपिक तो हमने डिसाइड कर लिया, वो टॉपिक का जो नॉमेनक्लेचर है वो बोल रहा है कि ये जो रिसर्च ये क्वालिटेटिव पे जाएगा, और हम क्या करते हैं उसमें रिसर्च हाइपोथेसिस फॉर्मुलेट करते हैं, और फिर रिसर्च हाइपोथेसिस फॉर्मुलेट करेंगे और उसके बाद उसमें क्या करते हैं कि उसको टेस्ट भी नहीं करेंगे, स्टैटिस्टिकल टूल्स को यूज नहीं करेंगे। तो ये जरूरी है। और सबसे बड़ा प्रॉब्लम है कि जो सोशल साइंस है इन इंडिया में, जब स्टैटिस्टिक्स की बात आती है और जब थोड़ा सा लॉजिक की बात आती है मैथमेटिक्स की, तो सोशल साइंस स्टूडेंट सोचते हैं कि यार मैंने मैथ्स की डर की वजह से तो सोशल साइंस लिया था और फिर से उसी में आ गया। तो ये जो है ना, हमें जानने की जरूरत है कि किस टाइप की, हमें स्टैटिस्टिक्स बहुत टफ नहीं है, उससे समझा जा सकता है। उसके लिए मेरा सजेशन है कि एक बुक एग्जिस्ट करती है कि टीच योर सेल्फ स्टैटिस्टिक्स। ये बुक है
यस
सर,
सर,
तो वो
यस
स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं स्टूडेंट। और जैसे ही अगर ये चीज आएगा, मुझे बहुत खुशी हुई जब विकास ने मुझे इनविटेशन भेजा, उस समय मैं आउट ऑफ स्टेशन था, तो मैंने कहा जब आऊंगा तो मैं जरूर आपको कांटेक्ट करूंगा। तो
यस
क्या है ना कि अगर रिसर्च स्कॉलर ने इनिशिएटिव्स लिया है, तो इसका मतलब जो है कि इंडिया का सोशल साइंस का रिसर्च इज गोइंग टू बी वन ऑफ द बेस्ट। जो अभी तक वेस्टर्न्स क्रिटिसाइज करते थे कि सोशल साइंस का रिसर्च इंडिया में सही से नहीं होता है,
यस सर।
तो इसके लिए मैं आप लोगों का बहुत आभारी हूं कि आप लोगों ने यंग माइंड के साथ जुड़ने का मौका दिया।
थैंक यू सर।
मैं
सर कुछ सवाल ले लें हम लोग।
हाँ हाँ
गणेशी जी।
विकास, एक मिनट,
यस सर,
हम
यस
नेक्स्ट
सर,
हाँ
सर,
आप
यस सर, यस सर, सर जी
नेक्स्ट
सर,
जब
जी
भी
सर।
बात करेंगे सर, तो हम फॉर्मुलेशन ऑफ उस पे प्रॉब्लम पर ही बात करेंगे। मैं भी
जी जी
मैं खुद
बिल्कुल
भी
सर।
विकास से कहूंगा उस पे एक लेक्चर रखेंगे, और मैं कोशिश करूंगा कि मैं उस पर बात करूं फॉर्मुलेशन ऑफ रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम पर।
जी सर,
और मैं जब भी अपनी क्लास में जाता हूं तो बच्चों को उसी से शुरू करता हूं, फॉर्मुलेशन ऑफ रिसर्च प्रॉब्लम से,
जी सर,
क्योंकि
जी
वो
सर,
वाकई में बहुत महत्वपूर्ण चीज है।
जी सर,
जब हम रिसर्च स्टार्ट करता है स्कॉलर, तो वो ये भी करना चाहता है, वो भी करना चाहता है, और बहुत बहुत जो है वो एक तरह से अनसर्टनिटी बनी रहती है।
जी सर, जी
तो
सर,
ऐसे में निश्चित रूप से ये फायदेमंद होगा सर।
जी
जी,
सर।
आप आपके क्वेश्चन थे कुछ? जी
हाँ बिल्कुल बिल्कुल सर, स्वागत रहेगा। अब इस सवाल सत्र में मैं सभी प्रतिभागियों से आग्रह करूंगा कि हमारे वक्ताओं से, सर से, सुधीर सर से जो भी सवाल हो, जिज्ञासा हो, तो आप अपना नाम बताते हुए एक एक करके आप लोग रखें।
हाँ, पहले प्लीज अपने आप को थोड़ा इंट्रोड्यूस कर दें और फिर इसके बाद में आप सवाल पूछ सकते हैं। दोनों स्पीकर्स हमारे मैथडोलॉजी से हैं। यस डॉक्टर विकास सर, योर वेलकम सर।
जी हाँ।
विकास सर, यू कैन आस्क क्वेश्चन
जी
डायरेक्टली सर। यस सर, यस सर,
जी
वेलकम सर।
गुड इवनिंग सुधीर सर।
गुड इवनिंग।
हेलो,
गुड
एम आई
इवनिंग।
ऑडिबल?
या यू आर ऑडिबल।
Yes. Sir, I am Dr. Vikash Rajput. I am an assistant professor in Guru Ghazidas Vishwavidyalay, Bilaspur.
यस यस।
Sir, I wanted to ask you about the formulation of hypothesis in social science. Especially, we believe that in social science there is no need of hypothesis. The research question will serve the purpose of the hypothesis. So, what is your opinion about creating the hypothesis versus the research question, sir?
See, when we are going for a research questions, and when we are going for a research hypothesis, as I said that this is the old debate in social science, that qualitative is better than quantitative, and quantitative said that it is better than qualitative. Basically, this qualitative research which is leads to by the questions, and questions is not telling that's a relationship. When we are going for a explanatory research, why something happened, in that explanation, we are giving that explanation that educated people are more likely interested to participate in elections in a democracy, so that states should invest in providing the education, particularly the political education, to each citizen. This is explanation we can give, and that then we can say for the participation by the educated people, going to strengthen the democracy in ABC country. So this explanation we are providing that, okay, but this explanation will get validity when we are going to observe on the ground. सो हमें क्या है, एम्पिरिकल एविडेंसेस भी देखना है। क्या ऐसा है कि एजुकेटेड पीपल
हाँ
ही
रोहित
वोट
बताइए,
करने ज्यादा निकल रहे हैं,
कहाँ मिली
कि
है?
अनएजुकेटेड पीपल भी जो है वोट करने
हाँ
निकल
आ
रहे
रही है,
हैं?
बस आ रही है।
अगर वो भी निकल रहे हैं तो इसका मतलब जो है, जो पहले
हाँ
परसेप्शन
हाँ
था,
हाँ,
जो हमने अल्टरनेटिव हाइपोथेसिस निकाला हुआ है
नहीं
कि
नहीं, सब लोग कर रहे
एजुकेटेड पीपल जो है वोट ज्यादा करते हैं, पार्टिसिपेट करते हैं इलेक्शन में, अनएजुकेटेड नहीं करते हैं। तो इसका मतलब ये हुआ कि जो हमने हाइपोथेसिस बोले थे, एजुकेशन और वोट वोट टर्नआउट इन डेमोक्रेटिक इलेक्शन में कोई रिलेशनशिप नहीं कर रहा है। ये चीज जो है हम रिसर्च क्वेश्चंस में नहीं कर सकते। हम रिसर्च क्वेश्चंस में क्या करेंगे कि रिसर्च क्वेश्चंस हम बोलेंगे कि अच्छा एजुकेशन हेल्प कर रहा है कि नहीं, इज एजुकेशन इज एन इंपॉर्टेंट फैक्टर फॉर मोटिवेटिंग वोटर टू इलेक्शन। तो ये हम रिसर्च क्वेश्चन ये क्या करते हैं, हमको हम उसमें समझने की कोशिश करेंगे, अंडरस्टैंडिंग करने की कोशिश करेंगे, लेकिन हम एक एक्सप्लेनेशन नहीं दे सकते। इसलिए जो है ना, दोनों का महत्व है, ये डिपेंड करता है कि आप किस टाइप की स्टडी कर रहे हैं।
ओके ओके, थैंक यू सर।
विकास जी, थोड़ा सा मुझे लग रहा है कि आपको हेल्प हुआ होगा समझने का। इसके लिए मुझे जस्ट 1 मिनट, इसके लिए मैं आपको सजेस्ट करूंगा कि आप सू मेकर की बुक है हाउ टू बिल्ड सोशल साइंस थ्योरी, ठीक है।
ओके।
तो ये बहुत बेसिक बुक है, अगर मैंने शेयर किया हुआ था, इसमें दिया है डिटेल कि ये सुमेकर, पीजी सुमेकर एंड थंकार्ड जे एंड लसोरा डीएल, हाउ टू बिल्ड सोशल साइंस थ्योरीज, ये सेज पब्लिकेशंस की है, 2004 में पब्लिश हुई थी। तो इसमें क्या है कि इसमें इन्होंने समझाने की कोशिश की हुई है कि हम सोशल साइंस में कैसे थ्योरी को बिल्ड करें। जब सोशल साइंस में थ्योरी को बिल्ड करते हैं ना, तो हम एजम्पशन से स्टार्ट करते हैं, फिर उसके बाद हम एक टेंटेटिव स्टेटमेंट लेके आते हैं, एक्सप्लेनेशन प्रोवाइड करते हैं क्रिएटिविटी के थ्रू, फिर उसको वैलिडेट भी करते हैं, जिसके लिए बहुत सारे स्टेप्स दिए गए हैं।
Okay, thank you, sir. I think Dr. Vikas sir has gotten the answer of the question. And so, any participant, next participant, want to ask? Anyone? आप लोगों में से कोई प्रश्न पूछना चाहते हैं तो आप डायरेक्टली सर से पूछ सकते हैं, अदरवाइज फिर हम लोग सेशन एंड करें। हाँ, यस अश्विनी जी, यस अश्विनी सर, यस जी अश्विनी सर।
So before sometimes you mentioned the book. What's the name?
I think अश्विनी जी, अश्विनी जी आपकी वॉइस क्लियर नहीं है सर, वॉइस, योर वॉइस इज नॉट क्लियर अश्विनी सर।
ओके
जी सर।
सर, स्टैटिस्टिक की आपने कोई बुक सर्च करी थी, वो भूल गया मैं।
सर आप म्यूट है सर, म्यूट है सुधीर सर, आप म्यूट है, प्लीज अनम्यूट।
टीच योरसेल्फ स्टैटिस्टिक्स।
उठाओ उठाओ। यस सर, यस सर। ये इसको बेटा
बेटा इसको मैं आपको दिखा भी दूंगा, अगर
इसको भर दो
दूसरे उसमें।
मैम का ही बैग भी चल रहा है। नया कौन है चल रहा है? हाँ बुला लो जल्दी बुलाओ, लेकिन 8 बजे बुलाओ जल्दी। क्या है बताइए।
रिचर्ड गुडमैन की है ये बुक, 1970 में पब्लिश हुई थी।
ओके सर, थैंक यू।
ओके, सो
आप कोई पॉलिटिकल साइंस का भी स्टूडेंट है इसमें? पॉलिटिकल साइंस पे भी है?
यस सर, बेसिकली मैनी स्टूडेंट्स आर फ्रॉम द पॉलिटिकल साइंस सर।
अच्छा, उनके लिए बहुत इम्पोर्टेंट एक बुक है जो द एसेंशियल्स ऑफ पॉलिटिकल एनालिसिस, द एसेंशियल्स ऑफ पॉलिटिकल एनालिसिस, ये रिचर्ड एच पोलक की है।
सर, एसेंशियल एंड
the essentials of political analysis.
ओके, मेरा बैग कौन लाया है? मेरा बैग कौन लाया है? देवेश,
राइटर सर,
Richard is just
मेरा
इसको मैं
बैग
अभी
लाया हो? मेरा
आपको
बैग
the essentials
हाँ,
of political analysis,
वहाँ पे
इसको
शॉप
मैं
में
आपको अभी शो करा देता हूँ, उसमें
शुभ्रांशु
कर दे रहा हूँ तो
भर दिए हो ना?
ओके, थैंक यू सर।
हाँ, मैम आ गई? ओके, सो आई थिंक इफ और यदि किसी का क्वेश्चन हो तो आप पूछिए, अदरवाइज फिर हम लोग सेशन एंड करें।
okay, so it is visible.
यस सर, विजुअल सर।
This book is The Essentials of Political Analysis, Philip H. Pollock, second Mary C. Edwards.
शुभ्रांशु, तुम्हारे न्यू फ्रेंड आ गए।
थैंक यू सर।
Welcome.
यस बेटा। हाँ, सो और कोई किसी का क्वेश्चन है? किसी का क्वेश्चन है? अदरवाइज हम लोग फिर सेशन एंड करें। ओके, सो अगेन आई इनवाइट टू गणेशी लाल फॉर द वोट ऑफ थैंक्स।
आज के कार्यक्रम के अध्यक्ष डॉक्टर उदय सिंह सर, केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय अमरकंटक से हमारे बीच जुड़े और उन्होंने अध्यक्षीय उद्बोधन दिया। सर को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार। और आज के वक्ता केंद्रीय विश्वविद्यालय पंजाब से डॉक्टर सुधीर सिंह सर, आपने हाइपोथेसिस के संदर्भ में बहुत अच्छे से बारीकी से हमारे प्रतिभागियों के, शोधार्थियों के समक्ष रखा। सभी लाभान्वित हुए, बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद सर। और आज के कार्यक्रम की कन्वेनर संगीता जी, नेहा जी और विकास जी तथा कार्यक्रम में जुड़े हुए सभी प्रतिभागी, अध्यापक, शोधार्थी और विद्यार्थीगण, आप सभी को बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत आभार, शुक्रिया।
So, with the permission of the President Uday Singh Rajput sir, we can end the session, sir.
थैंक यू सो मच सबको। जी
Thank
जी
you.
सुधीर सर
Thank you
नमस्कार।
very much.
सुधीर सर प्रणाम सर,
नमस्कार
प्रणाम।
सर, सबको नमस्कार।
नमस्कार।
नमस्कार सर।
जी प्रणाम सर।
जी